Drive On Blowout event. It's your final call. Your last chance to get up to $15,000 in total savings. No down payment. Free servicing for 12 months. Free bill of sale. $1,000 in groceries or 3 months of free gas. Free registration, licensing, tinting, and accessories. And 4% VAT off on top of it all. Yes, you've heard right. Everything free and 4% VAT off. But listen closely. This incredible sale ends when June ends. No extensions, no do-overs. This is your final call. Your last chance for the biggest auto sales saving for the year. So don't walk, run to Hos Automotive now. Your dream car is waiting, and these deals are ready to roll. Hos Automotive, where affordability meets the road. Terms and conditions apply.
You ever hear Earthquake call and say, "Hello, Miss Lee, yes, it's me, Earthquake, I come in Tuesday around 10? No, sir. Earthquake does arrive unannounced, and when it come, it shake all sense and sensibility out of we. Remain calm, stay inside, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the doorway or any exit. Stairs might block up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that, because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH, drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors in an earthquake, bad news. Take care yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people entering or exiting a building. Last thing, nobody run outside and ask, you feel it, you feel it? Remain calm, stay indoors until all the shaking stop, and do the DCH, drop, cover, hold on.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WinFM.
Unlock the secrets to a healthier you. Join Dr. Natalie Osborne every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on WinFM 98.9 for Weekly Dose. During this 30-minute health discussion, we aim to educate and empower our listeners on the prevention of diseases, early diagnosis, and timely intervention. Don't miss out on this informative health talk where we teach you to live your best life. Weekly Dose, Tuesdays on WinFM 98.9.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning, and how are we all doing this morning? It is another Monday. It's Monday, May 12, 2025, another edition of Island Tea here on winnfm.com. I may sound a bit nasally. That's because I'm trying to fight off that thing that is going around currently. I know the cold and the cough. I don't know if it's because of the weather change or if there's something else that is going around that I'm not aware of just yet, but hence the bit of nasally sound. So good morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the regional and international diaspora. Remember, we are being simulcast on TVC, Channel 40, Facebook, as well as YouTube. The numbers you can reach us at in the UK, it's 0333440065. In the USA, we have two numbers. The first, 1718-285-6984. The second, 1305-921-4619. And our local number, 466-0989. Quint, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you.
I was just perusing the international news, and I see an article here that says Zelensky challenges Putin to meet him after Trump demands Ukraine-Russia talks. Would you want to meet with someone like that? And would you not be, I don't want to say afraid, but would you not be concerned for your security?
I don't have the image of Putin that you all have, you know.
Oh, so you see him as a gentle giant?
I don't see him as, I see the man as doing what he has to do to protect his country.
Even if he's trying to take back some part that doesn't want to be part of him anymore.
You see what's happening with Israel and the Palestinians?
Mm-hmm.
And you see how silent the media is?
You find?
Virtually silent, yes.
You find they've gotten... But I just saw something where an American-Israeli is supposed to be exchanged.
You mean a smattering? You mean a smattering, not the adamant kind of, you know...
You mean like how it was when it started first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I must admit I haven't heard much in the media, but I do see bits and pieces here and there when it comes to that. And I didn't even know India and Pakistan were fighting. I
Yeah, the
saw
last I knew, they had a bit of a ceasefire, so
everybody has a ceasefire. I don't understand what is it. I know they're according to the word wars and rumors of wars, but what are we fighting for? Land that is not ours, land that will die and leave, land that will.
I guess it's just a human trait. Why do neighbors fight against neighbors? Why do
Yeah.
siblings fight against siblings? Why do friends fight against friends? It seems as if it's a human trait.
And a terrible one at that, one that we need to work on at being better, because even sometimes you're right, why neighbors fight against neighbors, sometimes this fence just an inch over and people make noise about something like that, like what can we
Yeah.
do about an inch? We can't carry the inch anywhere. We come to the earth with nothing. We on the earth, we amass some things and then we feel like we're it.
I've seen neighbors argue over a branch from one property hanging over the other property, and who has the right to pick and who has the right to cut,
Yeah.
and you know.
Listen, we live in a rough world. So the article basically says Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky says he's ready to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin personally in Istanbul on Thursday for talks over ending the war. His post on X came shortly after Donald Trump demanded Ukraine agree to Putin's offer of direct talks between the two countries in Turkey. There is no point in prolonging the killings, and I will be waiting for Putin in Turkey on Thursday personally, Zelensky wrote. He had earlier said his country was open to talks with Russia, but only after a ceasefire was in place. Western power calls for a 30-day pause in fighting to begin on Monday after European leaders spearheaded the so-called coalition of the willing met in Carib on Saturday. Putin's offer of direct talks followed that intervention. On Sunday, Trump then posted on social media that Ukraine should agree to this immediately, and it would provide clarity on whether there was a way to end the war. At least they will be able to determine whether or not a deal is possible. And if it is not, European leaders and the US will know where everything stands and can proceed accordingly, he said, have the meeting now. In his post, Zelensky said he hoped Russia would agree to the ceasefire before the talks. We await a full and lasting ceasefire starting from today, Monday, to provide the necessary basis for diplomacy, he said. In a late-night address, Putin invited Ukraine to take part in serious negotiations over the war, which began with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Putin said he could not rule out the possibility that the talks could result in Russia and Ukraine agreeing a new truce, but did not address the calls for a 30-day ceasefire directly. The Russian leader said this would be the first step towards a long-term lasting peace rather than a prolonged to more armed hostilities after the Ukrainian armed forces get new armaments and personnel after feverish trench digging and the establishment of new command posts. It's a long article, so I'm not going to go all the way with it. It's on BBC, but I really hope.
I can't believe Trump is still trying to give orders, and is anyone really respecting Trump at this stage?
I don't know, but he still feels that he has some kind of power somewhere, and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, because as I saw, as I was telling you with the Israeli stuff, Hamas to release U.S. Israeli hostage as part of efforts to reach Gaza ceasefire. So they are still firing, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't see this ending anytime soon. I think Israel is going to see if they can annex Palestine.
But where are all those people going to go?
Who cares?
That's
Trump
right.
Trump gave them the go-ahead, you know.
Mm.
From the moment Trump got in office and he said he would move them out and make that a...
Oasis.
He gave Israel, he gave Netanyahu what he wanted to hear. and Netanyahu and his cabinet said as much. They said, yeah, they agreed. So one was just waiting for when the hostilities would restart.
Oh boy. And in other news too, I see first set of 49 white South Africans to be granted refugee status by President Donald Trump administration are on their way to the US. He's putting out his own people that were born there, regardless of their lineage or their parents' nationality. And he's calling folks that are not from there to come there to get, what are they going to come and add to the economy? Because they're coming to get refugee status. What are they bringing to the economy?
He doesn't care as long as they are white folks.
So he's trying to make America great again by eliminating
You
us
see
folks
what
with the good
you see
skin.
what he has done to the black communities in terms of putting soldiers and so forth in there. What is it called?
When you say done to the black community, I don't understand.
Recently
You mean where he's trying to make everything with just the Caucasian folks?
No, he recently had something like I can't remember the word. Anyone who is listening, perhaps on the internet, could give us a call and state martial law. Yeah,
Martial law?
he imposed a high level of martial law, and mainly in the black communities. He said the blacks want the police to come in and control, and he did it. He did it by executive order, and it is to the extent where if, for instance, let's say the soldiers and the ICE go in and they do something that the local authority, police or law don't like, they can't do anything. ICE could lock up those officials and so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
because I see ICE was trying to get activists. They were trying to, arrest an activist, but the people weren't allowing it. A lot of nonsense is going on around the world, including in the US. And
Look, for all the folks, especially black folks, who used to tout that Trump wasn't racist, I would like to know what you think now.
was he never not?
Well, there were a lot of black people who were saying
Yeah, because we have a lot of black Republicans.
he was not racist, and a lot of black people went and, well, not the majority, but a number of black people went and voted for him.
And look at this too, the next one. US and China agreed to slash tariffs for 90 days. And I'm just going to touch a little bit. It says the US and China have agreed a deal that will significantly cut the import tariffs they have imposed on each other in a major de-escalation of their trade war. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said both countries would lower their reciprocal tariffs by 15% for 90 days.
This is non-news, This is the kind of news that we shouldn't even be hearing, because this was not supposed to be happening in the first place.
Well, what are we fighting for?
Trump came in and just
Messed up
started to
everything.
throw tariffs, and then China decided they were going to throw back tariffs,
Because China is self-sufficient, China really
Yeah.
don't need nobody.
and what is the word? Capitulated? Yeah.
This is a hot mess. They said the countries held talks in Switzerland, the first between the two countries since U.S. President Donald Trump had levied steep tariffs on China imports last month. Shares jumped on the news of the deal last month. The imposition of tariffs had caused turmoil in financial markets and sparked fears of a global recession. That is so true.
Yeah. So when you read that just now, that is news that we should not have been experiencing.
Yeah, he should have left it alone.
Self-imposed.
And how do you I saw something, because everything on the internet you can't believe, because some is CGI, some is AI, some is whatever. I saw there's a rule that you're not supposed to touch the crown prince, right? I saw it, and somebody said the only person that would disobey that rule would be President Trump. And he did exactly that. He passed and touched the prince, and the prince was looking like, what? Who touched me? I was like, Mr. Trump really does not obey the rules. He just does what he wants.
Yeah, I remember when Trump first won in the first election when he won, and
2016.
he had a worldwide sort of meeting with heads from around the world, and I actually saw Trump force his way in the front, push away other leaders so he could be in the front.
He has
I
no
actually
behavior.
saw that, and I said, "Wow,
Yeah, he
this
has no
man is like a
behavior.
big child."
Yep, he has to be seen. And when he doesn't get what he wants, he how do they say? He throws a tantrum.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, what a life.
Well, let's take a bit of a commercial break. It's not 8:30 as yet, but we'll take it early.
Okay.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WinFM.
Voices has a new time. Starting Friday, January 24, tune in from 10 to 12 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for Voices right after Island Tea on WinFM. Money Matters with Dr. Terrence Martin moves to Monday afternoons from 1 to 2 p.m. Inside the News on Saturday mornings, now 10 to 12 noon. Tune in to WinFM 98.9. Log on to winmediaskn.com and our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch pages. And let's go. Keep up with the news on our website and by following our WinMedia SKN channel on WhatsApp. Message your comments or call WinFM at 466-0989, 662-0989, or call our U.S. numbers from anywhere, 718-285-6984, 305-921-4619, and call our sales office at 466-9586. Voices, now 10 to 12 a.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Money Matters, 1 to 2 p.m. Monday afternoon. And Inside the News, Saturdays, 10 to 12 noon on WinFM 98.9. Come, build with us at Hos Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hos Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hosford's Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hosford's.
If you live in low-lying areas, be aware of the possibility of tsunamis immediately after an earthquake. A strong earthquake lasting 20 seconds or more is a natural tsunami warning. Do not wait for an official warning. Gather your family members and evacuate immediately after the shaking stops. Don't delay. A tsunami could occur within minutes.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WinFM.
Imagine life as a cricket match. You're playing well, enjoying the game, when suddenly an unexpected delivery comes your way. A critical illness can be that surprise bouncer. Fast, unpredictable, and challenging. Having critical illness insurance can be your game changer, providing financial support when you need it most. Don't wait for the unexpected. Get the right coverage with a critical illness insurance solution from Sagicor. For more information, visit sagicor.com today. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
And we are back on Island Tea with traffic talk as usual. But before we start, just let me let you know that DHL, the St. Kitts office, will be closed at 1 p.m. That's today, Monday, May 12th. This early closure is to facilitate staff training. We appreciate your cooperation and understanding as we take this opportunity to enhance our services. Any inconvenience this closure may cause is regretted. We look forward to serving you on Tuesday, that's tomorrow, 13th May 2025, at our normal business hours. So once again, DHL, the St. Kitts office, will close today at 1 p.m. So if you need to get your business done run along and do it before 1. And once again, they thank you for your understanding. Welcome back, officers. Constable Bell and Constable Nisbet, right? I have it right?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm getting better at it.
Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome back to the studios of Island T. And we've had an interesting week. We see people still not listening. They don't hear, as the little boy would say. So let's dive into our topic for today when it comes to the traffic.
Okay, good morning. Constable Bell here. Today we have two topics, but they are similar.
Okay.
Driving without a valid and unexpired license, and driving without the appropriate license.
Okay.
Okay. One can be charged. Well, this charge could go to persons in two different ways. The driving without a valid and unexpired license. It could either be you don't have a driver's license at all, or the driver's license that you have is expired. Okay? And even though you have a driver's license, that doesn't permit you to drive any vehicle. You have to have the appropriate driver's license. Okay? But before we go into the topic, I will just let Constable Nisbet introduce himself, and then we get started.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning again.
I'm here to speak about the different types of license.
Okay.
Right? In our system, we have 9 classes of license.
Okay.
9. Right? Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class E, Class F, Class L, M, and P.
Okay.
Right? The different classes goes with the weight of the vehicle.
Okay.
And in our laws, we speak about the ton.
Okay.
Right? So with Class B license, you cannot drive a vehicle exceeding the weight of 8 tons.
Okay.
Right? Class C, you cannot drive a vehicle exceeding the weight of 8 tons. Right? The only thing you cannot drive with a Class C license is a tractor, right? Agriculture tractor, or those bulldozers that they use on construction sites.
So you can't drive those two?
No.
Okay.
Right? We have those in a separate class.
Okay.
Right? Class D, right, is for the agriculture tractors.
Okay.
That is what Class D is for.
Okay.
Class E is for those heavy equipment that we use on construction site. The backhoes, the forklifts, those things is under Class E.
Okay.
Right? We have Class F, which you drive any vehicle at all. Right? You
That
can
includes
drive
a tractor
all
and
vehicle.
everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Right? We have Class L, which we know is for learners. We have Class M, is for motorcycle.
Okay.
Right? So we drive motorbike. Right? And we have Class P, which most of us have. We cannot drive a vehicle over the weight of 2 tons.
Okay.
Right? That's 2 tons. Right? There are some vehicles that some people learn in one vehicle and feel like they could just go and buy another vehicle. We encourage you to stay within your class. Okay?
Or if you want to change, come and
You
have
can
a
do an
conversation.
upgrade.
Okay.
We do upgrades.
Okay.
Right? So in our laws, you can get a permit to drive a motorcycle from the age of 16, but you cannot have a driver's license until you are 18. Right? So not because you have the permit at 16 mean you could jump in a car and drive.
Okay.
You cannot do that. You have to wait till you are 18 to drive.
Okay.
And not because you have a permit, it says that somebody with a license can teach you to drive. You must have an instructor's license. That's why we have instructors.
Okay.
Hmm?
All right.
Yes. Just to add to what Constable Nisbet said, driving without the appropriate class. If you're caught doing so, then you're not covered by the insurance. Okay? You're not covered by the insurance.
Okay.
Because the insurance will cover you from the class of your license. When you're going to take out your insurance, they always ask you for your driver's license. That's why they need all these information from your driver's license when they are recording whatever information they need. Okay? So For example, I am not going to insure. I am not going to insure my truck, knowing the risk of a heavy equipment vehicle like a truck, for somebody who was not competent to drive that vehicle, who just have a P-auto. Because then that's a great risk. You put in somebody to drive a vehicle that they haven't proven that they can control.
What if the person proves that they can control, but they don't have that license? Now, let's say the person know they don't have the license, but they know they're capable and able of moving the machine, and they allow them to move the machine. Who becomes responsible now?
The person in control of the vehicle is still responsible. However, the person who granted them permission could be charged for permitting another to drive.
Okay, all right.
Okay? It's just as if, hey, I'm saying, hey, I know accounting, but I cannot just go to the bank looking at a job saying I know what to do. I have to have it in writing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Just to give some stats, for the year of 2024, 32 persons, that's for the whole year, 32 persons were arrested for driving without a valid and unexpired license.
Were all of them charged?
Yes.
Okay.
Once you're arrested, we have to charge you.
Okay.
But between January to April of 2024, there were 12. For this year, the same period, it's the same 12.
Okay. I thought it went up because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're really not listening.
Driving without the appropriate license, 21 persons were caught for that offense. From out of the 21, 14 were paid. That's tickets.
Wow.
Okay. From January to April of 2024, it's 7.
Okay.
Out of the 7, 6 were paid. Okay. We haven't had any for 2025.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Driving without a valid and unexpired license. These are tickets now.
Yeah.
For 2024, 60 persons were ticketed.
Okay.
That's the whole of
Whole
2024.
year.
Okay. Out of the 60, 36 were paid. From January to April of 2024, it was 24 tickets. Out of the 24, 14 were paid. And for 2025, we have issued 27. Yes.
2 more tickets than last year?
Yes.
Okay.
17 were paid so far.
Wow.
Now, the reason why we gave it 2 different stats for the driving without a valid and unexpired license is because, as I explained, you can either get it because you hold off a driver's license, but it's expired. We would issue a ticket for it. And it all depending on how long we realize that this license was expired. Because if it was expired 3-4 years, then you're just being malicious.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, sometimes your birthday was yesterday or last month, and either you didn't have the money to do it or you forgot. At the end of the day, you still committed the offense, so we would issue a ticket. But those persons who are caught driving now does not have any type of driver's license at all. Even if it's expired, they don't have anything at all. Then we arrest that person. Okay, so that's why we gave you the arrest stats and the ticket stats. Okay? Pertaining to the classes that Constable Nisbet just explained, each class, not each class, except in the learners class, has automatic license to it. So if you have P, you have P auto.
Yeah.
Class A, you have A auto. Because you can have vehicles based on the weight, but they're just automatic transmission. So they probably don't know how to drive standard, but they can control that vehicle. They came to the upgrade, but it's in automatic. They will get that license in auto. Okay, so it's auto or just the class. We will call standard.
Yeah.
Standard license.
Standard license.
Okay.
With the license, if you were to upgrade your license to drive, let's say I have a standard, I have a Class B private license, and then you wanted to drive bulldozer or whatever, you get two license, or your license just combined?
Your license will show the different classes that you're
allowed to drive.
Yes,
Okay.
on the license we'll have, like, let's say you have a P and you're moving to a E, right? It will have P and a comma, and then the E will be next to it.
Okay.
So we can know all the different stages that you can drive.
Okay, got you.
That's why we have the ticket that says driving the appropriate license.
Okay.
Right? So you can't just come and take up a vehicle and drive it because you have a license. Right? People tend to do that, and when they do get catch, we have to ticket them, and then they have to call somebody to drive the vehicle, because we will not allow them to continue driving the vehicle. Right? So, when it comes to the taxis, right, certain safaris and buses have different weights. Certain ferries and buses have different weights. As we know, safaris they do not come into the country like that. They are built up vehicles. So sometimes you might have a license to drive the safari, but you cannot drive a coaster, because certain coasters have a different class. Right? In our laws, to drive a taxi, you must have at least a Class A license. Right? But some people feel like because they have a Class A, they could drive any vehicle. Right? That's not how it goes. Right? We have safaris and the coasters, and we have two different type of coasters. Some of them, the smaller coaster is the Class A license. You can drive that coaster. But some of them, like the big banana buses and stuff, those big ones, that is a Class C license. You must have the appropriate license to drive that.
So, okay, I'm going to use the big banana bus as an instance. So, if the big banana bus, he has a license for the big banana bus, can he drive a coaster and a safari?
Yes. Okay. The license, the Class C covers those.
Okay.
Right?
All right, got you.
So, now you have the smaller coasters.
I'm trying to think how small.
Okay, for example, Talbot buses. Those are some smaller
Those
coasters.
are small. Oh, that's what you...
Yes.
Because I just see that as a coaster, you know. I don't see the smaller...
They are different sizes, and they
and
weigh different.
They're different weights. So that the classes are based on the weights.
Okay.
So whatever class you have would tell you you're not exceeding whatever capacity that class holds.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Got you.
The higher the class supersides, the lower the class on the license.
I'm lost.
If you, for example, you have a Class A, you can drive P, whatever classes that is under it.
Yeah.
You have a Class B, you can drive B, A, P. But if you have a P, you cannot drive A.
Okay.
So the higher the class you have, you could drive
more vehicles.
The more vehicles.
Okay,
yes.
got you. Understood now. Okay.
Also, if someone is caught driving without a valid and unexpired license, for example, you as you said, you know that I could drive. I don't have a license, but you know I could drive, and you say, hey, Bell, take my vehicle, go down and break it, bring back some breads for me. No, if I'm caught driving, I will be charged for driving without a valid and unexpired license. I will be charged for driving when not being covered by insurance. And however, if it is proven that you were the one who gave me that permission to use that vehicle, you will be charged for permitting another to drive when not covered by insurance.
But finding out if I gave permission just might be hard, because what if I just end up saying he just took up my vehicle and went down the road?
Then he would be charged. That person will be charged for taking without the consent of the owner. But we would still have to do our investigation, get a statement from that person, get a statement from you, and then it all would have to be proven in the court whether he did take that vehicle without the consent of the owner or if he was permitted to drive that vehicle. And as you said, that would just show how malicious whoever might have been. So we have to be real careful, you know, at the risks that we are taking, the chances that we are taking, because God forbid that person go down the road, get in an accident, because you only know they could drive to reverse your vehicle in your yard all the time. So you walk out, hey, that person could drive. They drive around down the road, something happened, they're not accustomed to the road, they panic, or they make an illegal turn because, hey, they're not competent to be on the road, they haven't went through any tests to even, you know. They get in an accident, somebody is seriously injured or fatally injured. No. They are going to be looking to you for help from your insurance. And hey, the insurance is not going to be paying that claim because that person is not competent to be on the road.
And they're not on the license.
They're not on the insurance. They don't have a license.
Give me the license, the insurance.
And the insurance policy clearly states sometimes it's 2 years driving experience, 25 and older, or anybody permitted with a valid license to drive the vehicle. You don't have a valid license, the insurance will never cover you. Okay? And now that person would be sued or whatever, because people need compensation if injured. They cannot pay it. They don't have I don't think we have people here with $1 million just rest down to say, hey, if something happened, I got it to pay.
But do you think that residents and citizens are listening? Because look at the recent accident we had up at the roundabout, going up to, what do we say, Monkey Hill, Shadwell, that area.
Yes.
Do you really think they're listening? Especially, I admonish, and no pun intended, this is why I don't catch bus. Because this is like, I remember Sergeant Henry saying you can tell the bus driver to slow down, whatever, but are they going to listen to us?
I don't know the circumstances about that accident, so I cannot really make a statement on that. But if the people are listening, that's a question I ask myself too, because as last week when we read the stats, you saw the stats were increasing.
Very much so.
And even with the stats that I just read,
increased by 2.
Yeah, so I would say they're listening, but if they're acknowledging us, no.
Due care they're not taking.
Yeah.
They're not taking, because that accident should not have happened. Come on.
Yeah, so we just need to be driving more careful and courteous. See, because sometimes, you know, I don't know if it's a rush hour or what, but sometimes we could actually slow down and say, hey, let me allow 3 persons to pass, but they will be coming and see it's real close and they work out. They're going to take a chance.
Take a chance.
They're going to take a chance. And vehicles malfunction. Sometimes when you feel as you mash the acceleration, you would be going out, and sometimes you get a delay. So all that could cause an accident. So unless we know that our way are completely clear, do not proceed. And that's what we get so much accident. People taking chances that they're not sure of. They contemplate, and that's time that they have there when they're contemplating too. They contemplate, and when they finally make up their mind,
problems.
It's problems. So no way in saying it is far.
Tell them that again. I do not understand.
Because when you travel, you drive for hours.
Tell me about it.
And they're not rushing the busmen out there. They're not rushing the taxi guy out there. So we don't need to be here rushing at all.
That's real.
Yes, but on a side note, right? People has been calling about the lights in Keys area. They're kind of reddish light.
Oh, for the turtles.
Yes, the reason they had that color is for the turtles.
Yeah.
They keep calling the station and asking, right? So I was asked to remind the public that the light is that way
keep them
because
off
of the
road.
turtle.
Yeah.
Right? That is that is the reason why it's just in that short area
Exactly.
and not the whole area.
Mhm.
Right? Because that's the area the turtles visit the most.
Yeah.
Right? So that is why they did that.
Yeah. The red light actually keeps the turtles attracted to bright light. I lived in Antigua for 12 years, and there's the beach that was close to where I lived. We had red lights too, and that's to keep the turtles off the road, because they will come up and they'll get unexpectedly run over, because they're not supposed to be up
They
there.
would reach that far?
They would reach that
Yes.
far. I had the opportunity to see hatchlings at Reggae Beach just recently there, and we had to turn off all the lights to see us all over there.
Wow.
Still with our phones, but still not shining it because it just kept coming up to the lights. A lot of baby turtles come out, the whole plenty. The Ross students came and assisted with that and guide them back to the water. Yeah, they're attracted to white lights, so the red lights have to keep them off the road.
That's some knowledge to me.
Yeah.
But I was wondering the same thing about the lights until we were informed about what was going on. So I think there's one other place that they had about
Not in Sadler's?
two red lights somewhere in the countryside. I was wondering.
I saw them somewhere else.
Somewhere is there.
Yeah, so that's what that is what the lights for. When you're nesting, the young ones just move about, so that's why we put the lights there. So we are asking people to be
Okay, caller, go ahead. You're live on Traffic Talk.
Yeah, I just tuned into your program in time to hear talk about the lighting in a particular area of Keys. And like a lot of stuff, it's not what you do, it's but how you do. What was the public education about? Were people told that this was going to happen? Because, we know the turtles were there before Keys existed. But at the same time, you just don't go and change things without ongoing information. Just like how we put down a desalination plant in that area as well. And you think it's for the public good, but you don't think it's good enough for the public to know. And that's a problem. You just don't go and supplant people with stuff and then expect them to toe the line. It's a process, and you got to respect the different communities, because nobody can tell the persons in Keys about turtle more than Keys people, right? Man is the one who interrupts all the time, and we welcome change and we welcome the initiatives, but it must be a consultative process. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution, caller.
Yes, thanks.
But those lights have been up there for a while, right?
To answer the caller, I would assume that they did some consulting with someone, right? So maybe you did not heard the communication, right? So that is why we come back on to educate people all the time, right? Because I don't think that they just came and just put up the lights without somebody instructing them or having a conversation with someone to do that, right? So maybe at that time they was not listening to the radio or stuff to get that information, right? Or it did not circulate properly, right? But I wouldn't assume that they just came and did that off their own. There was some kind of consulting with someone why they chose to put up those colored lights.
So do you think the traffic department should put up extra signs like turtles or something, on a billboard, or extra billboard with a little writing to say why the lights are there, so persons would read it? Sergeant giving me a look.
It all
so they can
depends.
read it in the day and know?
Would the lights be there for the entire period, remaining for the...
I don't think they change the lights. The turtle have... I know they have a nesting period, but I don't think they change the lights.
Well,
I've seen those lights for
if
years.
the lights
It's
are
not
going to
something
remain,
new.
then I think, we could put the signs.
Put the
'cause,
signs, so people could
I'm
know.
sure every day that we would have new drivers on it, so we could at least put this sign, even though we have signs that say no parking and people still park, but
we can't win at all. But maybe the signs.
But we could put this sign. We could put this sign still, so at least they can't say that we didn't do anything to notify the public.
But it's the lights to keep the turtles off the road and keep them safe. Because if they're attracted to bright things, and if they if we have white lights and they come up, we're gonna have a lot of accidents. Because people gonna try to avoid them. Who know if a big one comes up on the road, like the big one that came up in Antigua. I sorry for the guy when I saw him. His shells broken, the cars matched up.
That specific area where those lights are in Keys. I don't know if people think it's a drifting racetrack. Sometimes when I drive there to see how people come around that corner, especially coming up on the hill to go around. And sometimes when rain come, dirt come in the road. And I don't know if people just rushing to go home, but it's very dangerous. I mean, hey, we should do something to avoid the dirt reaching in the road.
Yeah.
But if you know that's the situation, take your time coming around that corner. Sometimes persons going around and they have to bump the curb to avoid persons coming around the corner too hard, not holding their side and stuff like that. So
cool.
we have to be real careful, and that is a residential area.
Yeah.
Speed limit is 20 miles per hour. When you see these vehicles passing, you're timing it by 4.
That's 80. Oh, okay.
Yes, and persons have died in that area because, So I am glad that we could explain the reason for the lighting, because it could be an obstruction to persons driving.
Yeah. Because some people have problems driving in the night. They tell you look over your bonnet.
And that is why they need to be now more extra careful, and that's why I agree with the signage, because if something happen in the future, at least they don't have the blame game.
Yeah.
We took whatever initiatives we need to do to inform the public, inform the visitors, because persons come, rent vehicles, they drive, they don't know anything about over keys and how the lighting will be.
Yeah.
They drive in, they're accustomed to the normal white light, and then hey, as they come around this corner, they see just red. So at least before they reach in the area, there's a sign to alert them, hey, the next 500 yards or whatever, however they're gonna notify them.
Yeah, red lights for the turtles.
I agree that we should put signage in that area.
Well, as much as we agree, we have to have the conversations with our supervisors to get those signage, because we don't have them here, so we have to get them made, right? So it will take some time to get them. So that is why.
Caller, go ahead. You're live on Traffic Talk.
Yeah, this is not an attack on the officers who I always commend for doing their excellent work. But it's amazing, right? How quickly we are to be proactive with respect to, say, animals. And I'm speaking as a villager. The young officers there. Turtles have been coming in Keys longer than their combined ages. And how quickly we are willing to do all kind of stuff, quite rightly to protect the animal life. But do we see these officers in the village patrolling to ensure a reduction in the speed 24/7? How much signage is there? How visible are these signs?
And this is in Keys alone, caller, or all around the island?
Well, I'm specifically talking about Keys.
Okay.
If they check the record based on per capita, the number of accidents and death in that community will be high up on that list. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. People step out of their houses and are killed by speeding vehicles. There are no cameras, as far as I'm aware, in the village to keep a track. And I'm not saying the police officers has to be stationed there all the time, but the visibility is absent.
Okay.
And I'm saying if you're willing to do that for the turtles to protect these creatures, what about human beings? At least give us a share. And by the way, talking about those lights, a house was constructed on the beach in the village. We actually carried down a house to that area where they actually nest.
Okay.
And now you're doing taking a further initiative in the village and saying it on the air is not enough. Keys is one of the smallest communities. You can traverse Keys and visit every single household in a day or two, at least. We got to step up our game. And I'm not saying that's the function of the police officers there, but all concerned, because I know there's a certain monitoring group who comes to who monitors the village. What about monitoring the people in the community too? Let's be balanced in our approach. Thank you very much.
Do you remember when the lights were put in?
No, it's recently, and I understand that the villagers protested about the lights. And again, the protest shows that it's because of lack of maybe proper consultation and awareness by those who did it.
Okay.
Right? So I'm saying if you had, say, town hall meetings, and I'm not saying they didn't have, you could have gone more, because there are people who used to be involved in terms of catching in the village. Who are these people? You could have get the feel on these things. Gone are the days where you just come in and implement strategies and programs without a consultative approach. You can't do that anymore. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your contribution, Paula. Somehow, I don't know if my mind's playing tricks on me, but I feel they were there longer. Because I've gone to Sadler's a few times in the night, and I've seen those lights. But I don't know if it's because of me living in Antigua that it plays on my mind, because the entire job I walk beach in Antigua, because that's where the turtles come up and nest. And over in the country in Antigua as well, they have the red lights, so I guess I was aware of them.
Okay. I agree with the call that the police presence do deter. However, the police have different functions, different things to do. And that's why we're here on the police behalf. If the police are not present, we try to alert the public and encourage them to drive safe in those areas. We're not just going to come today and say, hey, drive safe in Keys, and that's it. We continuously go on the radio, and it's not even just for Keys area. For the entire country, we come and we try to encourage drivers to practice safe driving. So even if the police is not present physically, we hear in the media, we hear all over trying to encourage the drivers. And even though we do that, sometimes persons would hear and they would still drive the same way. Okay, I'm not saying, hey, we should give up because we feel like people are not listening. But to be fair to the police cannot be there every time the public requests them to be there. Because if you remember, I think he resigned now. There was an officer working at Cleon police station and Cohan. And in Keys area alone, he was given a lot of speeding tickets. One side of the community were happy, the next side was saying, oh, he just punishing poor people. So when the police take the effort to serve the public, please them, there's somebody still in the public criticizing. Okay?
When the lights were put up, right, who was supposed to tell the public? Was it Skelec? Okay.
I know that there's K police station deal with Keys, right? And
okay, that's close.
Yes, and I know that the officers there patrol the areas all the time, right? And some of them educate, they sit and talk to the public and stuff like that, right? Some of them don't want the police officers to sit and talk to them, or they don't want nobody see them speaking to the police for whatever reason, right? But the KM police officers do go through that area and do have conversations with the public to try to help the area as much as they can, right? And to get information from that area and educate them about certain things, right? So I know of one officer in Kayan for sure do educate them, right, about the lighting, So I don't know if he has ever seen that officer to have a conversation with the officer, a female officer, right? But they do go through that area. They do walk through that area also and have conversations with people about anything that is concerning that area to see how best we can help them.
Yes. And while we're speaking about educating, continuing on educating the public. Sometimes the police are in certain areas and you would see people jump in the group chat, hey, police in Keys. So drivers, some reason, the whole thing is to get alerted from when those messages say. Just so you could, hey, police in Keys, when you reach Keys, you're going to slow down or you're going to turn around or whatever. Why not use these chats to encourage the drivers in those chats to, hey, drive safe, adhere to the laws, because if you need a group chat to alert you every time the police is on the road, that shows negligence, willful act. They know what they're doing and they're trying to deter the police. So instead of doing all of that, why not use that chat to educate each other? If you all have certain issues with the laws, come together as a committee and have a meeting with the licensing authority to show your concern and not just be malicious with it.
Anything else to add up? Sergeant Henry, you have anything to add this morning?
As Councilman Bell said, yes, we have persons that are very malicious when they come to police out there doing their work. Yes, you're out there, they're trying to deter persons from doing what they're doing. Because you know that speeding is wrong. You know that driving without light is wrong. And these offenses, and once we're out there, yes, you're going to see chats going around. Oh, the cows are out on Johnson Long Path or whatever. Slow down. So if you're going to do something like that, you know you're doing something wrong. Why are you going to chat and say that? As Bell said, educate persons about, okay, yes, the speed limit is this. If you don't know, this is the speed limit in that area. So you know your drive. So the speed limit. Not because we're out there, you're going to do something that you know you should not do, and when you see the police, you change. Because you know you're doing something wrong. Just like a little child, if your mother tell you do not do this, and as long as you see your mother coming, you stop. So we as drivers, we act like children. When we do not give children license, we give 18 and above. So we act like children sometime on the road. If two busmen driving and you stop to pick up somebody, you block the road because you don't want the other driver to pass.
That don't make no sense.
Come on, everybody have to make a living, as you say. So when the police then put something to slow you down, oh, you don't want us to make this. So why are you going to block your other colleague or your other driver from making something?
Wow.
So,
what a cutthroat word.
Long story short, majority is just from negligence.
We see it all the time.
Yeah,
so I hope that the listening public would have been educated on the reason for the lights and keys, and I hope we get the signage up soon, whomever it belongs to put the signage up, and I hope that the caller see the police presence eventually in Keys, and if it is that they need a town hall to discuss the reason for the lights, I hope it all works out in the best interest of all of us in the island. And if you see the red lights anywhere around the island, folks, that means the turtles are nesting there, and to prevent them from coming on the road and causing incidents or accidents, the lights keep them at bay. So that's what the red lights are for. Anything else to add, officers?
Well, I just want to say, continue to drive safe, and just how if we make an amendment to the law, for example, we did tint law, everyone was asking a lot of questions, which shows that it did reach out to the public. Let's not say, oh, we didn't know or we didn't hear this when it's convenient to them. Okay?
Okay, for me, I just want to say I hope everyone had a blessed Mother's Day. Everybody get to go to church and had a wonderful dinner or lunch, wherever they went, right? And have a blessed day. Drive safe.
just want to remind the drivers to be cautious and be courteous on the road to other road users.
All right, and that's it.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Imagine life as a cricket match. You're playing well, enjoying the game, when suddenly an unexpected delivery comes your way. A critical illness can be that surprise bouncer. Fast, unpredictable, and challenging. Having critical illness insurance can be your game changer, providing financial support when you need it most. Don't wait for the unexpected. Get the right coverage with a critical illness insurance solution from Sagicor. For more information, visit sagicor.com today. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, have you heard about the water shortage in our area?
Yeah, it's pretty serious. I've been trying to conserve water as much as possible.
Me too. I've started taking shorter showers and turning off the faucet when I brush my teeth.
Look, that's great. Another way to save water is to fix any leaks in your house.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. How much water can a leak waste?
A small leak can waste up to 20 gallons of water daily, which can really add up over time.
Wow, that's a lot. And have to check for any leaks in my house.
But another good tip is to only run your dishwasher and washing machine when they are full to save water and energy.
I'll keep that in mind. It's important that we all do our part to conserve water, especially during this shortage.
Absolutely. Every drop counts.
This message was brought to you by the St. Kitts Water Services Department. Learn more at water.gov.kn.
Let TDC Financial Services help you go for your goals. Whether you're thinking of taking that grand vacation, down payment on a house, higher education, TDC Financial Services has various plans that will allow you to go for your goals. Choose from the Accumulator Plus, Investment Starter Plan, and Fixed Deposit. Ready to go for your goals? Visit us at TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you. Join me, Percival Hanley, this coming Friday and every other Friday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon for Heritage Matters on Win Media SKN 98.9. Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose.
Been thinking about going back to school? Now's the time with DeVry University's Bridge to Brilliance initiative. Qualified Caribbean professionals can earn a U.S. degree 100% online with up to 50% tuition savings and flexible payment plans. DeVry offers over 50 programs built for busy adults, whether you're looking to change careers, earn a promotion, or finally finish what you started. Study business, healthcare, tech, or project management on your schedule around your life. There's up to 50% tuition savings. The application fee will be waived. It's fully online and flexible. There's stackable credentials and start dates every 8 weeks. Restrictions apply. Visit partner.devry.edu/Caribbean today to learn more. You've supported others. Now it's your time.
The importance of co-parenting. Every child has the right to bond with the parents that gave them life. Children are happiest when they can freely communicate and enjoy the time, talents, and lessons that each parent brings to the relationship.
We make co-parenting difficult when we focus on differences rather than what is in the best interest of our children. Parents, your relationship with each other should never affect the relationship you have with your child. Celebrate your children together. They deserve your best. A message brought to you by the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services. Contact us at 467-1311 or 662-6833 for more information.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
And we are back on Island Tea. And just to remind you once again that the DHL St. Kitts office will be closed at 1 p.m. today, Monday, May 12th, 2025. This closure is to facilitate staff training. They appreciate your cooperation and understanding as they take this opportunity to enhance their service capabilities. Any inconvenience this closure may cause is regretted. DHL will resume normal business hours tomorrow, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. I was just looking at another article, Quint, and I don't know if you know, but they had a meeting. The CARICOM heads were here in the Federation, and they had a meeting concerning where they're going, meeting their goals, like sticking to what the goals are. Like if they said, I'm just going to use this, but this may not be the case. Let's just say they were supposed to achieve 25 by 25. They want to stick to achieve 25 by 25. So they were talking about that. They were even talking about, I didn't even know the Dominican Republic was not a CARICOM member state. So they were talking about making... Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys this
good
morning?
Thanks. Well, I'm good. I'll let Quint answer for himself.
I'm okay. And
All
you?
right, Quinn.
And you?
I'm good. I'm good. Tired, but
Did
good.
you enjoy your Mother's Day?
Oh yeah.
Happy belated.
I went to church. Thank you. I went to church. I was busy the day before making some bento box. So I'm exhausted. I really didn't do anything for Mother's Day except went to church, come home, eat dinner, and I went straight to sleep.
So you cooked dinner or the kids cooked dinner? Or hubby cooked dinner?
I cooked dinner. I only have one big kid live with me, and he went to work.
Okay. So
now
you
the
cooked.
two live on their own.
Okay, all right.
But I don't mind. I'm not a fussy person.
Okay.
I get showered with love every day, so I'm not fussy.
We know that.
Okay, kudos to the hubby.
That's right. But when y'all were talking earlier, you see where ICE arrested the mayor of New Jersey.
I didn't see that one. I only saw them trying to arrest the activists and the next person, and the people were like fighting them off.
ICE actually arrested the mayor of New Jersey.
Why?
Yeah, that is what I was trying to tell you. If ICE is trying to do whatever, and no one should intervene.
Wow.
That's by executive order.
I guess they had a detention center, and he was making sure that the detention center was adequate. And ICE arrested him, so he was interfering. But have you heard the story of the 9-year-old in Jamaica?
No.
That was raped and the guy killed her and put her in a barrel?
No. Oh my God.
No, every time I hear that you played earlier about protecting the children, I keep asking about a proper sexual
offenders.
What do you call it again?
Alert.
Sex offenders list.
Yes.
Right. Because now Jamaica is crying out for that, because when the guy that actually killed the 9-year-old a couple of days ago, I think it was yesterday, he actually, the funny thing, he was out on bail for assault, and I think 2013 he also raped, I think was a 12-year-old. So he's a repeated sex offender. And they don't have a sex offenders list. So that's why every time I hear that commercial you play, Sinkis need a proper sex offenders list because we don't have one either in Sinkis. Unless you're from the community and you know the person is a perv, you would not know he's a sex offender.
There have been some individuals here who've been advocating, trying to advocate for something like that, but I don't know if it's falling on deaf ears, and we're going to wait until like what recently happened in Jamaica happens, and then there's a big thing about it. But I agree with you.
If you realize there's a spirit that is out to just take out these kids, the young people, to just take out these kids. The little girls them are being attacked like crazy.
Yeah, because the little one in Antigua was 9 too.
But I don't understand how grown men are doing these
Fascinated by
things
children,
to young children. I just...
And this is what I'm saying. These people should be kept inside because, as you rightfully said, Cleo, I pulled up the article here. He's out on bail on a rape charge.
Yes, he was out on bail on an assault charge.
Why is he out there?
And he did it before in 2013 to a relative, a 12-year-old relative. He got, I think, was it 3 or 5 years, some couple years for that. I mean, when are we gonna have like a sex offenders list? When stuff like this start, and ain't to say that little girls ain't being saying it's these things are just hush.
Yeah.
They're just covered up. So this ad where y'all keep playing, and I keep advocating for a sex offenders list. Every time I hear it, it made me cringe because in the law or whatever they pass in Parliament, really I always say you don't protect the child. You really protect the perv because they tell you we don't want the person's name to be known. And they tell you that is protecting the child. No, that's protecting the perv.
Because
we need a real sex offenders list.
Yeah.
Guys, have a good day.
Same
Thank
to you.
Yeah, that's a serious thing.
Well, it seems as if that's some horrible news there.
Very. And if you see the guy that do it, you won't believe he would do something like that.
Yeah, just like the girl in Antigua.
Yeah, they have this angelic face.
Yeah.
You can't believe he looks like a murderer. He looks like somebody that would rape somebody. He looks like a sensible human being.
Well, they
But
say looks are deceiving. That is why, as the caller said, we need to be alerted to these people, because you see someone like that walking down the street, you would never think that.
Never think that he's capable of that.
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Yes, and greetings once more in Jesus' name, the only Savior of sinners from the sins and from hell, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first of all, I would like to say, like I always advocate, just do things the Bible way, and things will go right. You don't do things the Bible way, things would always go destructively wrong. Not just wrong, but destructively wrong. Counterproductively wrong. Now, for example, rape and say, I can say rape, kidnapping, because kidnapping will be a part of rape. The biblical penalty for that is execution. You know, not some list, but execution. But you see, we don't do things the Bible way, and we figure out that we can do things otherwise because the people ain't obeying the word of God. And that's how Satan fools us. You know, nothing work other than the Bible way. Nothing work other than the Bible way. Everything else is just destructively wrong and counterproductively wrong. Now, I would like to say concerning, there's an issue I wanted to say concerning Trump. Yes, it was, you know, I was one who used to say, even before Trump got elected the first time, that I don't believe he was a racist. Okay? That's what I used to say before he got elected even the first time. And I will still say, if Biden and Kamala are not racist, then Trump is not a racist. You know? That is what I would say today. If Kamala and Biden are not racist, then Trump ain't none.
So
Because Biden and Kamala have done some very racist things in the past.
Okay.
Hello?
Could you highlight what they have done that you think is racist? Because Kamala has black in her.
Well, for example, where Kamala is concerned, she used to keep black men in prison past their time to give free labor to the state of California when she was I think Attorney General or something like that, prosecutor, something like that, and the courts had to force her to let these men go, especially black men, to let them go because they had done so of the time and there was no need to keep them in jail longer than the time. You see, so to me that was a racist thing. Biden, 1993 crime bill destroyed a lot of black families, you know, and because of that, a lot of black men can't even get certain jobs to them because of the 1993 crime bill, where black men, even if you just had a split, you were jailed and all them sort of stuff, actually. And that 1993 crime bill destroyed a lot of black families. Not only that, Biden, remember during the debate with Kamala and Biden, then when they were running to see who's going to go up against Trump, during the debate, Kamala even bring out that Biden voted against, he supported the busing thing. I think he supported the busing thing where you had segregation and the buses. He voted in favor of it. He also said is on record saying that he didn't want to train them to go to school with black children because he didn't want to train them to go to any jungle. You know? Plus he was good friend with Bird, who, very interestingly, it seemed as though only racist Democrat could change, but a racist Republican cannot change. And I say what goes for one goes for all. So, yeah, so if Biden and Kamala are not racist, Trump is not a racist.
Even if he has shown signs of it or done things, just because they are not, he's not.
What I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is that it will be hypocritical to consider Trump to be a racist when Biden and Kamala have more going for them in the direction of racism. That's what I'm really trying to say. Now, we here in St. Kitts, I did fall for a satanic lie recently. I did fall for a satanic lie concerning something here in St. Kitts. And so when I think back on it, by the Spirit of God, I was wakened out of that satanic lie. We here in St. Kitts, within 6 months, we only had 1 or 2 murders at the most. And that's how we counted. 1 or 2 murders in St. Kitts within the past 6 months. And I fell for it. And I say, thank God for that. We only had no more than 2 murders. Most I could remember is really 1, but just for safety's sake, I'm saying 2. And I said, thank God for that we only had such little murders in St. Kitts for the past 6 months. But then, when God hit me in my head by a 2x4 and woke me out of that satanic lie that I was sleeping in, I said, no. We had many murders in St. Kitts. But those many murders, they are not counted as murders. Those murders are ignored as murders. And that is the murdering of the unborn in the womb under the color or name of abortion. God, those are just as much murders as any other murder committed. So we have had much more than 6 murders much more than 2 murders in the past 6 months. We have had a lot of them. It's just that they're not counted as murders. Satanically, they're not counted as murders. So that is what I want to say, and I would like to reiterate. I hope that lady, Jennifer Lee, provided she's telling the truth, I do not know, but provided she's telling the truth, and I am giving her the benefit of the doubt. So in case that is the case, that she's telling the truth, I would like her as quickly as possible, where her situation is concerned, to be rectified so that she can go back on the beach and do her living as a self-employed person, to provide for herself and to provide for her families. Because hunger is not anything to play with. And Quint, let me ask you a question. This is going to be the last one, I think. This is going to be the last one. You remember we were talking about the labeling thing, okay?
Yeah.
Last week. Let me ask you a question about you and Cartencia. What also another case come up to mind? What about those people who are carrying around ice lollies, drinks, and so on in coolers, where they're in ice and the ice melts? How the labeling for those are going to go? Because you know when water gets to paper, you know how it is. So how the labeling are going for those poor people who are walking around with coolers and ice box and so on, where the stuff are in ice, the bottles, the ice lollies and that sort of stuff. And like I said, if they're labeled with paper, they can't survive when the ice melts and they're soaking in water. So that other case hit me as well. How the labeling is going to go for those poor people? Because the water going to destroy whatever paper they're labeled with. And I don't know, for example, ice lollies, those thin now tubular things.
No,
they have labeling them.
They have labels that can survive the water, Greg. They have the plastic labels that can
yes, they have labels that can survive the water, and people who generate a certain amount of money can afford them. I'm talking about somebody who is just carrying around a small cooler or small ice bags, where that extra expense will be a lot on them as a poor person. How are they going to do it? Those are the ones I'm speaking about. Yes, I know other people who are bigger in business and that sort of stuff can do that.
This is where I think the small business development can come in. People can go and speak to them, get the grants and the help they need, and then they further their business from there with whatever profits they make. Because us keep saying poor people, it's like we're keeping them in a box. And if they too want to elevate their lives, because they're obviously doing something to make money,
they're hardly making money.
But wait, if they have the proper labels, they get the proper help, they can make more money and they can make themselves better. So we can't keep them in a box. We don't need to say poor people. We need to say poor people, because even businesses who are making a lot of money, when they have to put on extra costs and the stuff to factor in other expenses, even those businesses, the turnover slow down. Aside, but I don't think Labour going to somehow magically increase the expense, increase the turnover enough to afford that extra expense. And let me tell you, the big businesses, they also have refrigerators, so they could put the stuff in the refrigerators. But the small man who's walking around, the poor small lady, gentleman who's walking around with the small little cooler, the small little ice box, selling the ice lollies, selling the drinks and that sort of stuff. But those specifically, how it's going to work out when the stuff are in the ice that are melting in water, that are producing water?
I think that the system needs to sometimes just leave the poor people alone and let them survive. I don't think that they should go out for every poor person who is just trying to. I mean, yes, I
But should the
understand.
system help them
I
to
understand
elevate?
what Cortense is saying, and that yes, people will elevate and people, and we want to advocate proper labeling. But look, there are some individuals who are desperately trying to eke out a living. And me as a person, as a local person, my thing is, because I've grown up and seen the trays and the different things over time, I don't have a problem patronizing them. The problem is when they sell to foreigners, because then foreigners might question something. They give a foreigner something, and the foreigner says they get sick, and then there's a problem. But my thing is, leave the poor people, the struggling poor people, and let them survive. There are more important things for the system to do, infrastructure for water, infrastructure for housing, different things that they need to do. Put some emphasis on those things, and when you get those things straightened and our people are in a better position financially and socially, then you go after them and you say, well, look, we're going to be very strict on these other things because we've set a part where you are on a good level now.
So why we can't do all of it together, though, in terms of straightening out, helping the
Rome
less
wasn't built.
fortunate?
Rome wasn't built in
Yeah,
a day.
but we
You
need
can't
them
do.
to elevate. We can't leave them for last and then go back to them.
We're
Then
not
they're
saying.
gonna be
Look,
they're gonna be in a worse situation than when we met them.
Here is it. There are some individuals who've been in the business for maybe some years, and they've elevated. They reach a point where they can do labeling. They can do, no problem. All power to them. But there are some people who are sitting down, busting their brains, trying to find a way to eke out a living. Give them some breathing space. You understand?
Quint, I agree with you 100% in the sense that there are some poor people who this is going to not just mess them up, but it's going to send them out of business. If the government really enforce it strictly, it's going to send a lot of these small poor people out of business.
But I think that we are making, say one, say two, we're making a molehill out of, because I still go and I still buy things from local people, and I don't see them have labelings, and I don't have a problem with it.
And I never heard of a big problem concerning that with people getting sick also because of that.
No, these people are very, very careful about how their hygiene and blah, blah, blah.
Because the name depends on it.
Yes.
The business name depends on it. And just a terrible sickness or something like that from a few of your customers, and you're out of business as a small poor person.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, look, Quint, even the big businesses, even businesses that are bigger, let me put it that way, that because of your extra expenses, a number of them is going out of business, even though the stuffs are labeled.
Yes,
so what do you think going to the poor man?
Certain commodities, depending, you might find that they take them off the shelf because the price has gone up due to different factors. That happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And a number of these businesses are going out of business. I know that for sure. I know that for sure.
I don't have a problem with the system saying, look, as you advance, as you elevate, we expect better of you. We expect you to implement certain things. But there are people who are initiating creative ways of making a living, and I don't feel the system should bounce on them. But I also don't think the system is bouncing on them that much. That is why I say perhaps we need to stop highlighting certain things too much, because then you might make the system go after some of these people that are trying to eke out a living. But I do hear what you're saying, Greg, and I believe that we should give striving small entrepreneurs some breathing space.
Yeah, but you're right. But also remember,
for instance, there are people who go around. There's this guy who goes around and he has a kit on his shoulder, and he sells tarts and raisin rolls and blah blah blah. They seem to be homemade, and he has a good clientele. So you're going to put him out of business if you don't give him some time to develop and reach the point where you say, okay, start labeling. When he reaches a certain level, people are ambitious, and people will innovate and advance. But you can't just jump on people soon as they come out and they do a little thing and say.
That's why I say offer help, give them grants.
But what I'm saying is that in this today, as inflation is increasing, people's expenses are increasing. It's you do that and you strictly enforce it. This labeling thing, I'm telling you, it's going to send a lot of these small poor people out of business.
Should the government give the people that do not have the monies, because I don't want to call them poor, the people that do not have the monies to label their products? How long should the government be lenient with that?
Number one, I don't think the government should be enforcing anybody to do that, period. Okay? Like I say, I always argue, and the Bible way of doing things, and that goes against the Bible, because these are not the God-given God-given duties of the government. What I'm saying is that if the government was to lower taxes, at minimally lower taxes, and I believe taxes should be 100% voluntary, biblically, if the government was to even at least be low in taxes, make things cheaper.
We have another caller. Let them interject. Hello, caller.
Yeah, good morning, man. Good morning to you guys.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to, Quint, great discussion you had Saturday, man. Right up my alley.
Yeah, what do you feel about the present discussion about poor people trying to eke out a living and the system saying you have to label, and those added costs could throw them out of business? What do you feel about that? Because you're an young aspiring potential politician.
I wasn't really following the discussion that well. You say you're talking about poor people and beating them down when they're trying to push their private businesses.
Greg has been advocating, let's say some individuals are selling their mangoes and maybe some tamarind jam, different local products and so forth. Now we know that as we advance in society, we want to move on a positive vein, on a more professional vein. So there are those who say you need to get the labeling and you need to itemize the ingredients that you put into the product and blah, 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 and so forth. Yeah, expiry date and so forth. What Greg is saying, and I am agreeing with him to some extent, is that if you are too stringent on these small people who are trying to be creative in innovating ways to survive, you're going to mess up people's potential to survive. So give them a little breathing space. Perhaps say, okay, if you start a little business, I don't know how they're going to do it, but let's say you give them a 2-year period to develop, see how they develop, perhaps give them some advice along the way. And after that 2-year period, you say, look, we're going to offer you, as Cortensia is saying, a grant for you to be able to do some labeling and so on and so forth. But what Greg is saying, and I am agreeing, don't just jump on these people soon as they come out, because they are creative, they are innovative, they are trying to find ways to survive. Let them reach a certain level before you just jump on this and implement certain things on them.
Yeah, I would agree with him to a certain extent as well. Like we know small businesses are the backbone of the economy.
Yeah.
Like we say in local parlance, give them a blight, and the government can't be just jumping at everybody like that. I mean, sometimes you got to let them develop their craft and their skills. You know what I mean? And the little businesses, because they ultimately is going to inject into the economy. It's going to help the economy. But on the next flip side is, when these people get to a certain level, of course, Cartensia made a great point there. The government needs to also help these people up.
Yeah.
What
maybe not even just the government, but whatever
Yeah.
institution offer grants and.
We need equal opportunity across the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as all of that money flowed into the CBI, that money should not have gone into only certain people's hands. You know, there's a gentleman in Nevis, I think his name is Cabo from Fountain. He been asking about the injection. You know, the injection into small businesses, and we haven't seen that happening.
Let me give an example. For instance, we're always speaking about the Chinese, and you see how the Chinese are setting up shop in almost every village, everywhere you turn. Soon as you turn the next corner, you see the Chinese. From my understanding, those Chinese are given assistance from their governments. Startup capital to, and but in the Caribbean, we're not seeing that. Perhaps as the present caller is stating, some of the CBI money should have gone into setting up grants so that people can venture into business the proper way.
Yeah, during COVID, I think there was a lady who stated, or the Prime Minister stated, there was a lady who had gotten an order for 30,000 pepper orders. The lady's locally there, and she's making pepper. She got her own brand or something.
Hot pepper.
And I always pepper in the bottle.
Hot pepper. Yeah, we call it hot pepper sauce.
Pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah, hot pepper sauce. I mean, I always wondered what became of that person. You know, I believe the Prime Minister should have come back and follow up and let us know, how that lady made out with that order he mentioned. Because I think he mentioned that on Freedom Radio one time. It must have been early in his term.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Undoubtedly, maybe it was right after COVID or something, or coming out of COVID. But the current Prime Minister was in office already. He mentioned on Freedom FM, there was a lady who had an order of 30,000 pepper sauce. And I always wondered if that lady were able to fulfill that order. Because, if she got help, if she needed help, it would have been, help her up the ladder so she can make her business to become successful. But sometimes there's a lot of people locally, they're doing their thing, but they just need some type of help or injection. Like you just mentioned, and I'm advocating, the money from the CBI should have been set up in that way. I mean, we don't really have natural resources like oil, like Guyana, but that money that flowed into the CBI program, they should have had that structure in place to get that money out as dividends and other, like an injection to the small businesses. That money just went into certain people's hands. Now we're scrunting. But I'll let the other caller talk for a minute, and then I'll come back after.
Okay. Greg, wrap up.
Yes. What I've been saying is that, for example, businesses that, okay, I know of a person who is selling hot sauce. The hot sauce label, you have hot sauce label, okay? Person selling by the side of the road. The hot sauce bottles, they're labeled, but not as in-depth as what they are saying they should be. They're going to be. No, the same person is selling in a cooler local drink. And those local drink bottles are not labeled. Because, the paper gun can't deal with the ice when they melt into water. So that is one of the questions. How are you going to deal with these situations where bottles and that sort of stuff for local drinks also? How these poor people are going to deal with these situations in the cool and the sauce of when the ice melts? And obviously the paper labeling gun cannot stand in such situation. So what about this particular situation with poor people? I'm not talking about people who got fridge and they could put their stuff in the fridge. This is a person doing it by the in a cooler, okay?
Yeah.
In some ice box or something like that. And also in China, the economy is being affected very negatively by the intervention of the government into the economy. So things are not really all that well as we think in China. Okay, and so therefore, when government give all these loans and that sort of stuff, they have to pay them back. So if our government was to give these people grants and that sort of stuff, the government still have to find the money to fund the expense of the grant. You know? That would mean sooner or later more and more taxes, which are going to cripple the economy, especially the small poor man, more and more.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Okay. Greg.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
thank
Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Yes. Interestingly, what is more interventionist than a president deciding to just jack up tariffs, right? So you can say what you want about China and government intervention there, but government intervenes everywhere.
But government have always intervened in China. That's part of their system.
Well, yeah, it's a command economy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But with regards to this labeling thing, I think we can. We have a habit of debating stuff and never coming to a conclusion. Everybody go their own way.
Yeah.
But isn't it fair to say that everybody agrees that labeling is good?
Yeah, we all
Can
agree.
we start there? Everybody agrees on that.
Yeah,
on that
we all
point,
agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a best practice. It's the way to go. If there's a health emergency, we know it's a form of contact tracing. It's a form of branding and that sort of thing. Right. I think the difficulty comes in how do we introduce it in where it hasn't been had. Okay. I don't think anybody would not buy Mrs. Moses tamarind jam if it costs 5 cents more because of a label, right? So this thing about kind of jack up price makes sense. Secondly, it's not that we're doing away. We're actually mandating labeling for everything sold. I'm thinking, for instance, of there's some people who goes around to different companies selling stuff, pastries, and
Yeah.
Right. They're well known. Something like that, and in the catering business as well. They're well known. We don't expect them to label all the items they sell.
That is what
but
I
we
was
know
saying.
where they came from.
That
right?
is what I was saying.
Yeah, but we know where they came from in those particular cases.
Yeah.
Okay.
For
Right.
instance,
So
that's a good point. That's a very good point, because when we go into Emery Bakery, Island Bakery, or Fulton Bakery, we pick up those products and they don't have
They're not
labeling on
labeled.
them. We buy our
Yeah.
breads and so forth, and so that's a very good point. But they're
Exactly.
known.
Right, they're known.
Yes.
The problem comes when you just go to a random seller off the street.
Yes.
And the general public just buys it, and so there's no tracing if, God forbid, something goes wrong with that particular product.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So it's not an all or nothing thing. I am pretty sure that there's a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just to find it. Okay. And I'm saying that in the case of these small entrepreneurs, the government could provide some assistance in the labeling. And I think Sylvian had actually said that they had offered at some point. Okay. So, I don't think it's a big deal.
I don't think it's a big deal either.
Me
And,
too.
and as
Yeah.
Cortense has been saying, find ways to assist them,
Right.
so that they can grow.
Yeah, so we
Hello,
don't keep them
we have
open.
another caller. Hello?
Greetings and love.
Yes.
Hey, good day.
The discussion and the labeling is a serious thing, because really and truly, some people have allergies, It's from the time when you know what's inside of a product to help you know what I mean, guide you, you know.
Yeah.
So he got some benefits, you know, he got advantages, you know. But at the same time, you can't be partial, you know, in the sense that if you're going to label one, you have to label everything, you know.
Yeah.
And you gotta go to the point where you identify the GMOs, the hybrid, everything, you know, because people are allergic to GMO and hybrid same way, you know. And then it could get ridiculous, you know, because what is in a mango? You know, a mango can make you sick, you know. Enough people don't get sick from grafted mango.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it could get ridiculous. So I mean,
I'm glad I'm glad you made that point, because that is kind of what I'm saying. You can't just go willy nilly, because for instance, it almost everything, if I'm not in the developed world, is labeled down to the finest detail.
Yeah.
And we just made the example. We go into bakeries here, we get our bread, pastries, whatever. A truck comes around that. But if you buy anything from in Europe or the United States, whether it comes from a truck or bakery or whatever, it is packaged and labeled right down to the minute detail.
Yeah.
So as that recent caller is saying, it could really, that would mean then that Emery Bakery and all of them would have to be telling you everything that is in there.
Yeah.
But even in cases where it's coming from overseas,
yes,
the sometimes it's labeled, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's labeled down to a sticker on the apple, for instance.
Yeah.
But then there's other products that don't.
Like
so
for instance, for instance, give me an example of something that comes from foreign that isn't labeled as a food.
No, I'm thinking like fruits, for instance. Not all fruits have a sticker on them. Right?
Yeah, he's correct.
Yeah,
the foreign vegetables and meats, they're not labeled. He's correct.
Right.
When you get like cabbages and carrots and so forth, they're not labeled. If you
some of them are. That's the whole point.
If you read the package, you will see that they're labeled. They tell you even the product that they use, the chemicals in growing them, and so on and so forth.
But they need to show that on the shelf, them, you know. Because when you go and pick them up off the shelf, you must see the labeling on the products there. Yeah.
But interestingly enough, we don't really pay attention to labels, you know.
You know, what kind of chemicals they're using in these things here?
Yeah.
You know? How these going to affect our health? So you can't, like I say, you can't really, you know, the survival, man, but everything is prophecy still, you know. Not happen by accident, you know. It's by design, eh?
Yes.
And it's designed to make the poor poorer. You know what I mean? The man will make a living.
That is the point. I'm glad, that is the point that I'm trying to get at. You know, I didn't say it like you, caller, but yeah, you gotta let some of the poor people get some breathing space.
Yeah.
We are falling up with this time, you know, because the mark of the beast time, and it unfolding before our very eyes, you know.
Yeah.
We can't just go on like we don't see, we see and we don't understand, you know, because we've been taught these things from youth come up, you know. So now we're seeing them. It shouldn't really be like a surprise, you know. We just gotta adjust ourselves and know that we have to make a move.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we have to make a move because you see, nothing ever change in the system, you know. This is the direction the system has to go. We can't change the system. We have to move ourselves out of the system. You understand? We have to move. And if you check out the brethren out in Africa, down in Burkina Faso, that is what you're trying to do, you know what I mean? Create some alternative to what? Inherit true colonialism.
Yeah.
Okay?
Go against the norm. Go against the set traditions.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. Right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But Quint.
Yeah.
In tandem with the labeling.
Yeah.
I think they have to have some kind of education involved with the consumer. Because how many consumers really do you go in the supermarket? How many people you see watching labels?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, they just take up and go.
Yeah. You know, that's another great point, because even though these things are labeled, people, we usually just go and pick up and put in our bags and, you know.
Yeah. Well, of course, though, of course, at least that most of them are branded.
Yes.
We know if you pick up a Heinz product, for instance, we know what we're getting.
Yes.
Pretty much, those kinds of things. But generally speaking, if we introduce labels here, I doubt that people going to be looking for a stamp on the mangoes saying that approved by the agriculture department or something like that.
Maybe we
just ignore it.
Maybe we might not, but the people that visit here might, just like because they're accustomed to having these things on their fruits.
But we should as well. So that's what I'm saying. It should be accompanied by some kind of education.
Hello. We have a hello caller.
Hello, good morning. I'm watching you all live and direct.
Yes.
But when they put this labeling thing,
this is a local vendor.
Yeah, the drinks are going to be more higher. I used to say the minus. I used to label it at times, and then since it wasn't compulsory, afterward I stop it. But these things are going water. You know what they're doing wrong? They putting them things they heard about it and you hear already. You're not supposed to really freeze or frozen those things or freeze them as we just say, because we have a chemical that the bottle make from, the thing like suck it. But everybody gone the freezing thing, not supposed to freeze, it was supposed to just, they have a lot of bags out there what they just use.
Yeah.
You make them and you couldn't chill them, put them in the fridge to chill, and then in the morning you walk with them and that keep them well cool. They have them, everything matter now is now in long time you have to run, really go buy a bag of ice to do this and do that. They are these things for them, but I don't know, the freezing these things is not good for your stomach. I've tried it one way was Saturday, one to use, and it was so frozen. Like he's not familiar with it neither, because he's not living in it. So he just refused it. But I learned long time ago. I heard a long time ago. It was a Saturday morning talk also. They were saying that the freezing thing is not too good. You ever buy a bottle of water, one of them island purified water, and then you could smell back the thing?
No, I've never drank bottled water.
Yes, one time I bought one and you could smell whatever the bottle made from.
Yeah.
You could have smelled it thing, man. This pack up that strong. So,
yeah. Okay.
Could you ask her how she feels though if she would have to, if she's mandated to label her product?
It seems as if she has hung up. Yeah.
It would be interesting to see. I mean, if
she did say that she used to label, but it became kind of cumbersome, and then she stopped. I don't know why. That would have been a good question to ask.
Yeah, because what we really don't want to do is put people out of business because of this.
Yeah.
So I just wondered, if she already would have a workaround, or if it's mandated that she does.
Yeah, because that's a nuts lady, and this is why I don't know. This is why me as a person, I don't have a problem buying from local vendors that I know. They have their nuts and their boiled nuts and their parched nuts and I don't, as one of the callers before said, some of these things are capitalist things that were imposed to keep the poor. So yes, we need to advance and we need to, but I believe that to some extent give them a little breathing room and some advice, as Cortensia said, and some assistance so that they can advance.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, to Greg's point, Greg feels that just leave it to good old-fashioned laissez-faire capitalism. You buy at your own risk and you sell how you want and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? But they're indeed standard.
Yeah.
And they're put there for good reason.
Yeah.
And so I think...
Morning again, guys.
Go ahead.
Wait, I'm wondering, how would it, like, you mentioned the mangoes, right? How would labeling work in that aspect? Because when you go out, you pick your mangoes, you put them in your tray, you're going to sell them.
That is what
How
one
would
of the,
that work?
That is what one of the callers was saying. We don't want to push this to the ridiculous because it could get ridiculous, you know. And
Yeah,
Mr.
because you
McMahon
can
was
say-
also making that point, you know, that point.
You can say, for instance, to use your mangoes example. I mean, too many mangoes, and you have vitamin A poisoning, I think, right? So maybe that should be a warning on them, but or just leave it to experience.
But Quint, even here in the Great America, mangoes do not have a thing label on it. The only label on it is a product of Mexico, product of Florida.
Yeah.
It have no nutritional nothing on it.
So there you go. So we can't label everything then.
Also
right,
at
you just tell your product of wheel.
Yeah.
But probably at customs they may have more detailed
Yeah, whether
information
they're gonna
on the product.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right, then.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We're 3 minutes over the 10 o'clock hour. So I see you scrutinizing. Is there something in particular you're looking at?
I just want everybody to progress in life, including those folks that may need to label. And I got a comment that says we need to invite the appropriate authorities to come and speak on behalf. My stuffiness is getting worse.
Yeah.
So we will do that so we can have all the questions and concerns answered. I'll try my best to reach out today and see if I can get somebody to come on.
And here's hoping you get over your snuffiness sooner
you
than
so
later.
much.
Okay, do take care.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.